Stress is a big deal nowadays, and like a dam that's going to crumble and collapse, it first starts with the small cracks that you start seeing in the dam before it completely collapses. And that's when we're most vulnerable to ideas such as moving to Portugal in order to avoid burnout. But that's why I want to give you today 13 ways to avoid burnout so that we can avoid being vulnerable to being pulled in this direction or that direction that may or may not necessarily be the best thing for us to really be doing. What people don't realize is that moving to a whole foreign country has a whole other level of stress. Just moving in the same town adds a level of stress. Imagine moving to another state or even across borders. But of course, it sounds so easy. All right, so number one, don't get, like if you have a job, don't get and add a side hustle to it. We live in an achievement society, and it's the big thing now is to have a job and a side hustle and do nothing but work ourselves to death every available moment of the day. And when you add commuting to that, you can see why the stress level would just become unbearable. And the second thing would be don't work overtime. So don't add a side hustle and don't work overtime. This is if you have a job. Number 3, don't buy new things. The shiny objects, you've heard this before. It's okay to buy used. Here's the thing. A lot of people want to feel like it demeans you in some way. But think about this. When you go to a restaurant, do they unpackage brand new plates for you and silverware? No, of course not. That would be ridiculous. So you go to a restaurant and pay a premium to eat. And here you are doing it on used plates that aren't even your own. What about when you go to a hotel? Do they unpackage brand spanking new linens for you, just for you? And no, they don't. So here you're paying a premium to get a good night's rest, and you're doing it on used linens. All right, enough examples. And the next thing is just don't buy stuff. What do you mean? I don't mean don't buy necessities. I mean don't try to upgrade and buy another things that you don't really need. Just don't do it for now. Let's see if we can do this for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, and make it a habit. Number 5 may sound a little contrary to what we just said, but when I say sell something on the side, it's not the same as getting a side hustle. Getting a side hustle, you're just adding more hours to something that's already sapping your hours and your energy. Selling something on the side could be, like getting stuff out of your garage and just having a garage sale, or even just placing you control this. That's the difference between this and a side hustle. You get to say, well, I'll just list one item or 2 items for sale this week. The purpose of this one is to get you out of that hourly rate cycle and get you thinking about being more independent so that you have more control over your life. Number 6, don't eat out. Make your own meals. We came to the beach today, and I made my overnight oats with raw oats, and I made it really special. I had homemade natural strawberry jam in there and all these ingredients that just made it like a real treat. The cost was like less than $1 per person, I'm sure. We can do a video on overnight oats if you want. Let us know in the comments. But make your own meals. It's not just to save money, but you'll see that everything is symbiotic and works together to give you more time. Because remember, the restaurant, you got to drive there. You got to drive back. You got to sit and wait. And, what else would you want to be doing other than all of those things? It's not just about the money, although the money certainly helps. And number 7 is like it. Do something about your cost of housing. You may not, we had somebody that wrote in that said, yeah, I've been watching a lot of your videos very closely, and I've been listening, and we moved, and they live in California, and we moved just an hour out, just 1 hour out, and they were able to get a one-bedroom for $600, something that most Californians think they have to go abroad to do. But these people just went an hour out, which is something we mentioned in other videos, even if you live in a high cost of living area. So that's what it was move to a lower cost of living. It could be going an hour out from where you are so that it doesn't cause all that much stress. It's much easier to sit there and move an hour away, put things in your own car, make several trips, that kind of thing, or rent a U-Haul, whatever you want to do. A lot less stressful than trying to move all the way across the nation, or heaven forbid, all the way to Portugal or something. And another thing that a lot of people don't think about is that with, following the crowd with these ideas about millennials flocking to Portugal to avoid burnout, which they're not the only ones that are being enticed to flocking to Portugal to avoid burnout. I mean, retirees have been enticed to go to Portugal, and all manner of different categories of people within the last several years. And this causes a gentrification conflict, which we talk in other videos and we won't talk about in this video. And number 8, super foundationally important, avoid all debt. And that means anything. Don't put anything on a payment plan, not even a layaway. Just if you don't have the money for it, buy it used or don't buy it. You don't have to go without. You can buy it used, or you can figure out something else. Number 9 is take time out. I mean by this specifically, take time out. The word sabbatical comes from the word Sabbath, and Sabbath is day of rest, originally a biblical concept. And so make a special case to have a day of rest where you don't have to get ridiculous about it, like you won't talk to anybody. It's not necessary to go that far. I had a friend that his job was so stressful, and he used to go to Iraq and do some super stressful all-day work. And when he came back to the States, he didn't want to talk to anybody for at least a month. If your job is that stressful, go back to number 1. Don't take any overtime and don't add a side hustle. So make it a special point to take that day of rest on a regular basis. Number 10 may surprise you, but start tracking your expenses. We need to have an idea of where our money is going and what's happening to it. So, but not just expenses. I want you to go a step further. Once you start working these 13 principles one by one, and you get down here and you start taking all this time out and all these things, and you start tracking expenses, then you can start tracking your trajectory. And what that means is the direction of where you're headed in the longer term, what your goals are. And this will start giving you a picture in your mind, like, where am I headed with this? And a lot of times people have a kind of conception in their mind that this is why I'm doing this, the FIRE movement, or I'm trying to become independent financially, or what have you. But this way you can avoid burnout. And once we can avoid the burnout, then we can think more clearly and start tracking our direction and see how it fits in and balances out with the rest of these items, which is number 11, enjoy something every day. And you start realizing that you are on such a path that you just lost the enjoyment every day. And that's a big thing that causes burnout, is that we push ourselves so hard. I know I used to do this. We just are so singular-minded and focused that we just become so imbalanced in our life, and the cracks start showing up in the dam, and pretty soon it just gives, and we don't want to get to that level. We don't want to get to where it just gives and crumbles. Number 12 would be take time to connect with people. That's one of the biggest differences between foreign cultures, and this is one of the things that they really use as a carrot when they try to get people, because it is an industry and it is a profit center for the promoters of these ideas, that you have to go all the way to Portugal just to avoid burnout, which is about the silliest thing I've ever heard. So take time out to connect, even with people that are very close to you that perhaps you lost touch with, and make that special effort to connect, even on a very small basis, even with your own spouse. Give your spouse a hug. Give your spouse a little back rub. Look them in the eye, smile, connect with somebody, whether it's that way or over the phone or however it is that you can do it. And number 13 is no less important than any of them. So now you want to learn to take care of both your mind and your body. And with this video, we're taking care of our minds, but at the same time, we're taking care of our body. But we also want to make sure we are learning to take care of our physicality of our body so that it won't break down, because the mind and body work together, and you can't ignore one and only feed the other, because one will pull the other down. The mind, if it's not fed, it'll pull the body down, and if the body's not taken care of, it'll pull the mind down. And so take care of both your body and your mind. Don't overlook this. All right, I hope you got something out of that, and thanks for coming to the video, and have a wonderful day.